Turkey's recent local elections have unveiled a seismic shift, with the CHP toppling Erdogan's long-standing AKP stronghold. But what does this unexpected upheaval signify? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era in Turkish politics, or is this merely a temporary setback for Erdogan? So, what's next for Turkey? Let's find out. Turkey's latest local elections have marked a pivotal moment in the nation's contemporary political narrative. On a Sunday that would be etched in the annals of Turkish political history, the electorate voiced their preference loud and clear, propelling the main opposition party, the Republican People's Party (CHP), to a stunning victory over President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's ruling Justice and Development Party (AKP). Garnering nearly 40% of the popular vote, the CHP not only secured a triumphant win but also dominated the electoral landscape in Turkey's major urban centers, most notably Ankara, the capital, and Istanbul, the largest city. The outcome of these elections is far from ordinary. It represents a seismic shift in Turkish politics, considering the stronghold that Erdogan's AKP had maintained over the nation for a better part of 2 decades. The victory of the CHP in Ankara and Istanbul is particularly significant given these cities' status as political and economic powerhouses in Turkey. Istanbul, a sprawling metropolis that straddles 2 continents, has been a historical and symbolic center of power, while Ankara, as the seat of the government, holds a strategic position in the country's administration and governance. The win in these cities not only underscores the CHP's growing influence, but also signals a potential change in the political tide, challenging the long-standing dominance of the AKP and raising questions about the future trajectory of Turkish politics. Before these surprising local election results, Turkey's political scene was largely dominated by President Erdogan and his party, the AKP. For years, Erdogan's leadership and the AKP had a strong grip on Turkish politics, winning multiple national and local elections. The last local elections before the recent ones were held in 2019. During those elections, Erdogan's AKP was the top performer at the national level, securing 43% of the popular vote, while the CHP came in second with 30% of the vote. Despite the CHP's struggle at the national level, especially in rural areas, it made significant strides in major cities. In Istanbul and Ankara, the CHP candidates managed to win the mayor's races, marking a notable exception to the broader national trend. The victories of the CHP in Ankara and Istanbul were particularly impactful, not just because these cities are among Turkey's most populous and economically vital, but also due to the high visibility and influence of their mayors. Istanbul, being Turkey's largest city and economic hub, holds a symbolic and strategic importance in Turkish politics. It's a city where political trends and shifts are keenly observed as indicators of the national mood. Similarly, Ankara, as the capital city, is the center of government and administration, making the position of its mayor highly significant. The mayors of these cities are among the most recognizable public figures in Turkey, second only to the president, and their platforms provide them with a significant opportunity to influence policy and public opinion. Thus, their win in these key cities in 2019 set the stage for the surprising turn of events in the recent local elections, challenging the AKP's long-standing dominance and suggesting a shift in the political landscape of Turkey. In the 2023 local elections, the CHP, Republican People's Party, achieved a remarkable victory, which was a big surprise to many. They won nearly 40% of the popular vote, beating Erdogan's AKP, Justice and Development Party, which got about 35.5% of the vote. This was a significant change compared to previous elections. For example, in the last local elections in 2019, the AKP was on top with 43% of the votes nationally, while the CHP had 30%. This time, the CHP not only increased its share of the vote, but also continued to hold its ground in Turkey's biggest cities, Ankara and Istanbul, winning by even larger margins than before. This shift in the election results shows a change in how people in Turkey are feeling. In 2019, the CHP began to show its strength in big cities, but rural areas mostly supported the AKP. The recent results, however, suggest that the CHP has gained more support across the country, including some improvement in rural areas. The fact that the CHP did so well, especially in urban areas, is significant because these areas are very influential in Turkish politics. Cities like Istanbul and Ankara are not just big in terms of population, they're also economic and cultural centers, which means winning there can have a big impact on the country's election and direction. The victories in Istanbul and Ankara weren't just wins, they were strong statements. These cities gave the CHP mayors and their councils more power than before, showing that the residents' support for the CHP has grown. This is a clear message that many people in Turkey are looking for change. It's the first time since the AKP came into power in 2001 that they have lost a national election, highlighting a significant shift in voter sentiment and possibly the beginning of a new era in Turkish politics. The success of the CHP in the recent local elections can be linked to a few key factors. Economic crisis. One major issue that has affected how people in Turkey vote is the country's economic situation. Under President Erdogan, the government made some decisions that didn't work out well for the economy. Specifically, Erdogan insisted that the country's central bank should lower interest rates when they were actually supposed to raise them to control inflation. This approach went against what most experts advised. As a result, inflation increased, which means the cost of living went up, making life harder for many people. The Turkish currency, the lira, also lost a lot of its value against the dollar, going from 5 to the dollar in 2019 to about 20 in May of the last year. Although Erdogan tried to fix this by changing his policy and raising interest rates, it was a bit late, and the economy continued to struggle. This situation made many people unhappy and influenced them to vote for change. Opposition strategy. Another factor was how the CHP and other opposition parties worked together. In the past, they tried running as a coalition, which means they joined forces to try and win against Erdogan. Well, this strategy didn't always work well, because the parties in the coalition were too different from each other, making it hard for them to agree on things. This confusion can make voters unsure and less likely to support the coalition. This kind of situation isn't unique to Turkey. Other countries like Hungary and India have seen similar challenges when different parties try to work together against a common opponent. But in the recent elections, the opposition, particularly the CHP, managed to present a more united front and clear message, which helped them gain more support. Candidate popularity. Finally, the people chosen to represent the CHP in the elections played a big role in their success. After losing the presidential election, the CHP made some changes in its leadership. They brought in new people who were more popular and had fresh ideas. This change seemed to resonate well with the voters, and in particular, the mayors of Istanbul and Ankara, who were from the CHP, won their races again with even bigger support than before. This shows that having likable and strong candidates can make a big difference in elections. The popularity of these leaders, along with their successful work in their cities, helped boost the CHP's image and appeal to more voters, contributing significantly to their overall success in the elections. Erdogan has talked about making changes to Turkey's constitution, which would need a lot of support from other politicians to become a reality. These changes could potentially allow him to stay in power longer. However, after the local elections, Erdogan's party doesn't have as much support as it used to. This lack of support makes it much harder for him to get the changes he wants. To change the constitution in a big way, you need a lot of votes from politicians, and right now, it looks like Erdogan might not have enough. This means his plans for changing the constitution could be in trouble. The results of the local elections have also slowed down Erdogan's political momentum. For a long time, Erdogan and the AKP were used to winning and having a strong influence over Turkish politics. But losing in key cities and seeing the overall support for the AKP drop can make it harder for Erdogan to push his agenda and make people listen to him like they used to. This change could affect his future ambitions, including any plans he might have for staying in power or influencing Turkey's direction in the coming years. The success of the CHP, especially in big cities like Istanbul and Ankara, shows that there is a growing number of people in Turkey who want something different. This could lead to more competition for Erdogan in future elections, making it more challenging for him and the AKP to win as they used to. The local elections have shown that Erdogan's popularity is not as strong as it was, and if this trend continues, it could change the political landscape of Turkey in significant ways. And that's a wrap up for this video. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this.